Welcome to On My Way to Wealth, the podcast where busy Gen Xers can learn financial tips as they navigate life on their way to wealth. And now, please join your host, Luis Rosa.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of On My Way to Wealth. My name is Luis. This is a special Hispanic Heritage Month edition. Today, we have a very special guest, someone I met recently, and I look forward to our conversation. But before, I'd like to tell you a little brief history about Hispanic Heritage Month. It is celebrated between September 15th and October 15th every year as a time to recognize and celebrate the many contributions, culture, and extensive histories of the American Latino community. It first began as Hispanic Heritage Week back in 1968, and later on became Hispanic Heritage Month in 1988. Since then, the month has been celebrated nationwide through festivals, art shows, conferences, community gatherings, and much more. The reason it starts on September 15th is because it celebrates the Independence Days of several Latin American and Hispanic countries, including Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua, and on September 15th. Mexico on September 16th, and Chile on September 18th. It also includes holidays that recognize Hispanic contributions, such as the Virgin Islands Puerto Rico Friendship Day, which is celebrated in the U.S. Virgin Islands on the second Monday in October. For this month, I like to highlight individuals who have made a great contribution in their chosen profession and the community at large. And now I'd like to introduce you to Lea Landaverde. Lea is known as the Latina Wealth Activist. She is a revolutionary financial professional and creator. If you're not following her, you must. So we'll be sure to drop those links later. She's a first-generation queer Latina based out of Dallas, Texas currently. She is the founder of the Riqueza Collective, a holistic financial coaching practice dedicated to providing bilingual financial education to the next generation of wealth builders. She's also the voice of Mi Riqueza Podcast, a podcast redefining the way we view wealth. Lea has earned her master's in finance at the University of Utah and is a certified practitioner of the trauma of money. With over 9+ years in the financial industry, Lea has combined her knowledge in wealth management, investment banking, technology, and personal finance to amplify her message. She has over 100,000 followers combined across all her social media and has been awarded Best FinTalk Creator for Hispanic-Focused Content of 2023. From that.com. She's also won Best Professor of the Year, got a professor in the house, 2021 at Utah Tech University, as she teaches financial literacy for incarcerated youth in Utah. Lea is a visionary, and her passion lies in bridging the wealth gap and pushing for financial equity to marginalized communities through activism, education, community, and wellness. Bienvenida, Lea. Welcome. Thank you. It's a pleasure and an honor. I was so excited to meet you at the SED Advisor Latino Conference or Summit that just recently happened on September 26th in Phoenix. And it was such a crazy day, right? We didn't get a chance to really connect other than the usual pleasantries, right? But I'm glad that we're doing this now, and I look forward to staying in touch with you.
Yes, no, it was such an amazing event. And, being Latino and everything, you're talking, saludando, saying hello and everything. So it was, time went by so fast. And one day, a few hours, all of a sudden you wake, it's already 10 p.m. when you're still hanging out with people and you miss, the conversations that you wanted to have. But I'm so honored to have been invited and to participate in the first Latino Advisor Summit with something that's been needed in the space for a really long time.
Absolutely. I had such a blast, from the churros to the salsa lessons to the panels and the speakers. I think everything was amazing. The content was very unique, not only to the Latino advisor and just people in the general finance space, but it was great, like business building tips, everything. So it was very well rounded, so I'm excited for the years to come. It's just going to continue to get better.
Yes, we need it every single year.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for those that follow you, they might not necessarily know a lot about you. I think in terms of your background, I know you do share a lot of your struggles and things like that on social media, but can you tell us a bit about just some of your background upbringing? Like ultimately, how did you end up doing, what you do now, your work in finance and being a professor and all that?
Yeah, so it's all rooted in my origin, my heritage, to be honest. I'm a daughter of Salvadoran immigrants. And I'm the first daughter at that. So being the first daughter, there's a lot of, responsibility and delegation to the first daughter. So for me, it was translating los biles, going to the bank and helping my parents and trying to help them understand what was going on, right? And it wasn't until I was 11 or 12 years old around the '08 housing crisis, a few years after that, because I think, it happened. And then the aftermath of 2009, 2010, that's when people were actually really, fully getting hit economically. And for my parents, they own a landscaping business. So if the real estate market crashes, so does their business. It's highly correlated, right? So they filed bankruptcy. We foreclosed on our home. We lost our business. And I remember the last day, the week that we were packing to get out of the house, my dad, me agarró he put his hand on my shoulder and he's like, because I was going downstairs trying to pack my stuff. And he was like, Leah, I need to talk to you. And I was like, okay, ¿qué pasó? And he was like, Leah, I need you to be smart. Necesito que seas inteligente. I need you to be smarter than us. I need you to take advantage of this system. I don't know how it works. Clearly, we're in this situation. I just don't want you to ever make these mistakes. And I just want you to be smarter than me and take advantage of the opportunities that you have as a citizen. And I didn't realize how being a citizen really was a big differentiating factor for my family versus my family being immigrants. My dad had TPS, my mom was undocumented. And so there was a lot of fear for them, but then for me, there's this opportunity. So I took that and I ran with it. I was always good in school. I had good grades. I was the nerd. There was one counselor that believed in me. Trust me, I almost dropped out. As smart as I was, I almost wanted to drop out just because I didn't feel represented in my school. I grew up in a town that just was predominantly white, and I was the only Latina, and I just didn't feel supported in the ways that I needed to be. And so, long story short, I got into a high school program where I was able to take college credits during high school, and I earned my associates in business by the time I graduated high school. And by then, I already knew that I wanted to study finance because I wanted to work on something that was actively changing. Accounting's really past, we're looking at transactions, understanding people's trends, but I wanted to forecast. I wanted to see what we can change. I'm such a, I want to be able to make things move, right? And my counselor in college was like, finance is your career. So as I studied finance, I got my first ever internship in wealth management. So that's where I started my career. At the age of 17, I got my first internship, understanding, how to manage client portfolios, how to have client discussions about their assets and their retirement goals and financial planning. So that's where I started my career. And because of that experience, this was, almost 10 years ago, to be honest, it's 8-9 years ago. It was a difference. It was very, how would I say, it was not another supportive space for me as a queer Latina navigating a space with all white advisors. I was the only woman of color. I didn't have the best experience. I was, they tried converting me to Mormonism. They tried watching me in my every move. And I was like, I can't be in this space where I am looked as an other. So I decided to pursue a career in investment banking. So then I shifted. So I went from wealth management, I had a year internship, and then I moved over to investment banking. And that's where I spent 4 years of my career, understanding client onboarding, the big moving billions and millions of dollars in order to get big trades in. I actually moved into technology eventually for product management because I wanted to move into that field. So I got a big diverse background, but my root was my family. At my core, it was my cultura. Who am I serving? And that was the biggest question in my life, which gave me, around the pandemic, a career switch.
Yeah, that is so important. And I'm glad that you already had that within you, because I feel like sometimes it takes people years to figure that out, sometimes decades. Mm-hmm. What is my purpose? Mm-hmm. It's not just to clock in and clock out, right? It sounds like you definitely were aware that there was something that you wanted to do that was forward looking, that was implementing change, and it was really embedded in you. And I love the framing of the conversation you had with your dad when you mentioned fear and opportunity. because it's based on perspective, right? How you look at things, right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty powerful, So thank you for sharing your background. I appreciate that.
Of course.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you then, I was listening to one of your podcast episodes, and you're very transparent with a lot of your personal struggles that you've gone through, so you talk about, things like depression, anxiety, right? It's things that you probably wouldn't hear a financial person talk about, right? So I appreciate you being so open. So I wanted to ask you, in the world of social media today, right, where people are, for the most part, portraying like their highlight reels, right? Their best meals, their best trips. What led you to be so open to share like so much personal struggles?
Yeah. So if we go back to like my little career switch, I eventually left Pullman, and that's where I used to work for 4 years. And I had this coming to Jesus moment. I was like, what am I doing? What is my purpose? Who am I? Like, I'm going through this whole coming to Jesus moment, right? And one of the things that I loved doing was posting my journey on social media, even if it was on a personal page. It was like my way of documenting my journey and my progress in life. And I pivoted into starting a business, a financial coaching practice that really would help my community understand their relationship with money, because I was also going through my own relationship with money. I'm like, I barely understand it, even though I have degrees, I have master's in finance, bachelor's in finance, been in these career paths, but still for me on a personal note, I'm like, I understand this is theory, but how do I apply action? So I had to go through my own journey myself. And as I went through my own journey, I kind of started documenting that process, what that looked like, things that would come up for me. And Mi Riqueza Co. was my first outlet of, doing the work with people. I would help entrepreneurs with their finances, eventually started helping individuals with their finances. And then that's how I got into this route of financial coaching. But I knew that there was a lot more in me that would trigger me. It wasn't just, my money wounds. So this is a very common topic, right? With money mindset is your money wounds. Like, what are the things that trigger you and make you want to like either impulse spend or make you avoid your finances or make you, feel some sort of anxiety? And I had to really tap into that, because I'm like, okay, I know I am diagnosed with depression and anxiety. So I know there's some that comes from my mental health issues, but there's also other things from my traumas that come from my upbringing, from my parents. Imagine telling an 11-year-old, like, your whole life is you represent your family. At 11 years old, you have to have a career to be successful, to protect your family. That was a big trauma for me. Even though it was an opportunity, it was a lot of pressure. And so I did I'm a certified practitioner in the trauma of money, which is understanding the psychology and the effects of money and the systemic impact as well. So I did this as a personal goal for myself. And then obviously I took in the professional route, but it was liberating for me to understand that I wasn't alone in the situation. There's systemic barriers set in place against me. There's, today is Latina Equal Pay Day, where Latinas earn 52 cents to a white man's dollar. Like, there's things like literally fighting us every single day. So I was like, okay, well, I want to post this content. I want to share my journey, because I'm on my way to build a riqueza. That's my goal, like wealth, right? Riqueza means wealth. And why not share that? Why not be transparent with people on how I think about things? I know I'm smart, but I'm also human. I like to humanize finances. I like to, I'm not only a coach, but I am a person trying to achieve her journey of wealth and what that looks like. I'm the first in my family to get a college degree. I'm the first in my family to have, moved away from our hometown. Like, I'm alone in Dallas, Texas, because I want to, create bigger opportunities for myself. I want to take up space. And so sharing the not so glamorous part of my life, to me, is transparency. The transparency that we don't see in a lot of creators, that we don't see behind, the social media. Because a lot of people think, like you said, it's all about the food and the content, and, but I'm an educator, but I'm also a human. And I want people to see that, yes, I'm an activist. I like to talk about Latina Equal Pay Day and economy and impact to the dollar, like our dollars, and how that makes or impacts our finances internally. But also I'm like, this is how it's impacting me. This is how I'm going through it. If this resonates with you, great. If it doesn't, that's okay. But this is my journey. And that's what I've found that social media allows me to do as a creator, is to share that.
Yeah, I love the concept of humanizing finances. I really like that. It's so true, because it's not black and white. There's the stuff that we learn when we go through the curriculum to get our licenses. Any type of investment license or financial planning license, it's really, it leaves out a lot of the behavioral and psychological and traumas, right? That people deal with. Not everything is like, oh yeah, I just max out your 401k, and obviously,
there's a lot of emotion. Some people don't. I literally have someone I'm texting right now. She's a good friend of mine, and I love to support my friends. And I literally created her a budget, and I'm like, here, plug in your numbers, just list your expenses. You don't even have to think about your income now. Just list your expenses. It's been 2 weeks and she still can't do that. Like, she gets this anxiety and overwhelmed feeling or guilt in her head that plays like you're not enough. And those are things that need to be worked on too. And we need to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that, and I was looking at your program. It looks like you have like 4 pillars to how you go about it, right? So you have activism, education, community, and wellness. So can you tell us a little bit about each of those?
Yeah. So my activism in the business is understanding the inequalities that are happening in today's society that impact us today as people of color, as Indigenous people, as Black folk, as, Afro-Latinas or Latinas. I think it's so important to understand the things that we're fighting against, because yes, we might see it, but we don't really deep dive into how that impacts our dollar, right? So for example, why would you bank with Bank of America if they're constantly sued for unethical practices and constantly fined for opening, bank accounts in people's names without them, without their approval, or credit cards, or, monthly fees that they weren't approved? Like, these are things that are ongoing news that we know about, but we still continue to bank with them. So it's something where I like to teach people, okay, these are the things that are going on. Do your values align with this? Yes or no? And that's activism in a small scale, being able to say, you know what, this bank does not align with my values. What other bank can I align with that aligns with me? So that's the way that I approach activism in my business, is aligning my clients' dollars with their values. Then education is that financial literacy and understanding, how does money impact their lives, and how is achieving financial goals something that they can apply in their lives while learning the concepts of financial education, like budgeting, saving, your credit, your debt, right? And a lot of these things should have been taught at home or at school or at the bank, but unfortunately the society does not promote financial education because they think you're supposed to be born with this knowledge. But unfortunately, children of immigrants or immigrants don't know. They don't have a pamphlet that says, this is how you create a business in America. This is how you run your finances in America. This is how you succeed in America. There is no one way route. So I try to educate, my clients on that, as well as community, build that community and center everything that I do in comunidad, wherever I am, whether, I have a strong community here in Dallas, Texas. I have a virtual community anywhere I go. I just went to Los Angeles. I had community members there. I went to Phoenix. You guys are my community. I am so centered in community because that is how we make things move. If we think back to our indigenous ways of our comunidad, we were, así, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, it's the way that I make money moves, the way that I know that I'm growing is if my community is following me along and they can feel like they have a safe space to talk about dinero, to talk about their dinero wins or dinero chismes. Like, I have a Slack channel where I weekly try to post my wins because I'm transparent about my goals too. And I want them to post their wins, whether it's saving $500 or $200 or paying off a credit card or not spending like they used to. Like, these are wins for me, and I do that in community. And the last pillar that I really focus on is wellness. And wellness is that mindset aspect, the mind, body, soul. I am very holistic in that sense because you can be rich and have millions, but also have a scarcity mentality or have a doomsday mentality. Or you can be like nuestra gente, nuestros pueblos, and nuestros, cantones, or where we're from, my family doesn't have a law in El Salvador, but they're the happiest people I've ever met. So they have this abundance mentality. They know that, yes, they're struggling, but they're happy with their family and community. And especially us as Latinx individuals, we have this different perspective of wealth, because when you come from nothing, your value of wealth is your family, is your community, is, the coconuts, it's the beach. It's like the things that you're surrounded with when you in your like native land, right? So when I think about that, that's how I achieve financial wellness. It's just like the mindset, the mind, the body, redefining what that looks like for us. If there is anxiety, mental health issues, if you have ADHD, that impacts the way that you spend money. And so these are things that I like to talk about with transparency, because money is so, it ties to so many things. One people might think it's financial planning, it's, investing, but it's, mindset. It's how we're navigating our money on a day-to-day basis. It's how we think about our finances. It's how we make those money moves when we decide to buy a home or buy a car and everything. Like, there's just so much more that goes into it. And I try to encompass that in my platform.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. I mean, it's so well-rounded, without a doubt. And, you were talking about how you view like your own riqueza, right? It's like, it's not a money thing. It's really more of the mindset, the perspective, what you value, right? Because a lot of the times, some of the things that we value the most are, things that don't cost money, right? Like spending time with family. And like you said, right, going to the beach, the coconuts, like that's not that expensive, right?
Yeah. Especially if that's where we're from, that's what we know.
Yeah. And I love too how you encourage people to share their wins, as small as they may seem. I think those are so important to take a moment and celebrate those, because a lot of the times I feel like we focus on an accomplishment in the future and a given outcome that we're looking for, and we place our whole like happiness on those, right? So well, at least me, right? I don't know if I'm just speaking for everybody else, but at least me, I've been there where I'm like, okay, when I pass this exam, or when I get this license, or when I open up my business, but that could be years away, right? When I graduate college, and then in between, I'm just like not happy because I haven't achieved that one goal yet, instead of stopping to celebrate just small little wins along the way, right?
No, that's me. My whole entire life, I was like, okay, got to get my degree, got to get that job. I mean, I got a whole, I never took a break until I was like 24, 25. Like, I just went to school. And I was pursuing a career in tandem. And I just had to take a step back and realize, Lea, you can achieve everything you want in this world, but are you acknowledging your wins? Like, even for myself today, I have to take a step back and be like, Lea, you just got an award for being a best professor for incarcerated youth. You are doing that. Like, you were helping change the system in some way, shape, or form. You're inspiring kids. And sometimes I just think of, okay, what's next? What's next? Move
the goalposts right away.
Yeah. And I'm like, no, Lea, take a step back and reward yourself, whether that's through, a night in with your family, like with me and my partner, we sometimes watch a movie and we'll order in, and that's our celebratory night. Or sometimes she'll take me out and be like, Lea, you need to celebrate. You need to honor yourself and your wins, because you're trying so hard to, drive change, but you're not honoring those changes, even as small or as big as they are. And that's why I'm like, if I have to go back to my small wins and make them feel like big wins, I will. And one thing that I did for that practice is I won third place in a competition for pitching a business concept. I could have taken that energy and been like, oh, I won third place, let's forget about it. I don't want to talk about it. But instead, I ran with that. I was like, no, I won third place, and I owned it like if I won first place, because why am I going to give it that, it's just third place energy, right? No, I won third place, and I had to really practice and be like, I won third place, and so it's hard sometimes when we don't celebrate our wins and we're just trying to chase the next. And I think it's because we're these go-getters and we want to make a difference and we want to achieve more. But sometimes it's take a step back, before you start your business, celebrate what you've done so far. I'm almost coming up to 3 years being an entrepreneur. My whole entire career path, I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I thought I was going to work for somebody my whole entire life because I wanted financial stability. I did not want to watch like go through what my parents went through with their instability as entrepreneurs. So, and I loved in the panel, you guys mentioned that too. We had a panel and Luis was there, talking about his journey to creating his RA and everything. And so we were talking about it. And when you said you didn't want to start a business either, I'm like, yeah, me either. Like, I completely agree. And maybe it's the reason why we're doing this is because we want to help people now. We've seen the industry needs us. And so we're here, we never thought we'd be here, but we're here,
Absolutely. And we're here to stay.
Yeah, I love it now. Like now I'm like, okay, Leah, this is hard. Yes, as an entrepreneur, it's really hard. There's highs and lows financially. There's a lot of stress, a lot of work to do on the back end, but I wouldn't change it for the world because I know that I have the control to change and impact the people that I want to.
Absolutely. And I wanted to ask about the work that you did or currently do with the incarcerated youth. Like, what is that content about mostly?
Yeah, so I have partnered with the university, Utah Tech University. They changed their name. So Utah Tech University, they have a state-run program where they help all incarcerated youth, so any individual who's in juvenile detention, achieve higher education, so achieve their basic college credits if they, do well in their sentencing. They have the opportunity to graduate with their first 2 years of college while incarcerated. Wow. So it's one of the first ever programs that is known in the United States to offer these benefits to incarcerated youth. My goal is to also help them expand to other states. But currently they have a core curriculum where they understand math, they have science, they have personal finances, where I teach the basics to financial literacy and how do you navigate finances as an adult, as these kids, navigate their lives into back to the real world and civilization. I want them to feel empowered with their finances so that they know what steps to take. Because I tell them, I talk about if they want to rent an apartment, if they want to move out, they want to start a business, because sometimes they don't want to pursue college education, and that's okay. I'm like, okay, start a business. This is how you would go about it. This is what you need to do. If you have a family, some of these kids have kids already. Wow. So we're talking about, financial security, insurance, benefits, and things like that for their family. And I'm talking about this, virtually. We can't do in person because there's 5 facilities that I cater to. But these students, they're resilient. They know that they've gone through financial struggles, and a lot of the reason is because of that. And that's why they're there, because they wanted to earn money in one way, shape, or form, and it wasn't the best way of earning money. And so we're very transparent in the fact that I want them to inspire for more. And I think the main messaging that I give them is changing their story and saying, hey, I know what's happened has happened, but I don't know exactly what's happened in your past, but you can change your story no matter where you come from. Here's my example of my life. I could have gone so many different ways in my life, but I decided to be persistent. This is what I'm doing. And when I just went back a few weeks ago, mid-September, and we had our first 2 class graduates. So they earned their first 2 years of college. One was Latino, the other one was Black. And it was just so beautiful to be there and support them and be able to honor their progress. Like now they want to be, one wants to be a real estate agent. Another one wants to be a counselor. They want to help give back. And so when I saw my students too for the first time, because I had never met them in person, I got to go to one facility. They were like, Leah, what's up, Leah? I remember when you were talking about budgeting. I remember when you were telling me about how to buy a home and we were looking at home prices and la, 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 la. And the fact that one, remembered me and 2, remember the things that I taught them hit me, because how many kids go to class and don't remember their teacher? They don't remember the concepts that they learned in class. And so the fact that they virtually learned from me, I wasn't even there in present. I started tearing up because they're like, oh, I'm so happy that you came all this way. They see me as this person that traveled from Dallas to see them graduate, right? Because I believed in them. And for me, it just warms my heart knowing that I'm inspiring them to pursue more in their life. And, you know, a lot of them that haven't graduated yet, they're like, I'm going to graduate next year. You better come. And I'm like, okay, I'll go, you know. And these kids just give me hope, you know, and they deserve that second chance and opportunity, because most of the times the reasons why they're there is because it's systemic. It's systemic.
Yeah, I love that. You know, and that keeps you going too, because sometimes we don't know the impact of our work, you know, because let's say like you, right, you have a podcast, like you don't know unless people tell you, right, who's listening, who's paying attention, whose life you've impacted. So it's great to get that feedback, because like you said, we're human. We have our bad days too. Sometimes we even question if we should be
doing. Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, am I even on the right path? I don't know.
Yeah. So when you hear that, I'm sure it just gives you that renewed, like, okay, yes, I'm this is what I'm supposed to be doing, right? I'm having impact.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Exactly. Yeah. Thank you for doing that. And thank you for sharing that as well.
Of course.
So I wanted to ask you about, you know, I was listening to one of your episodes and you mentioned, you know, this stuck out to me. You mentioned about how you were tired of living up to someone else's image and you wanted to create your own lane, basically, let go of expectations. How did you arrive at that point where you decided, hey, I'm just gonna like truly be me, right? And just stop basing my, I guess maybe self-esteem or something on somebody else's, you know, expectations of me or you know, however, whatever value they're placing on me and so on.
Yeah. So especially this is coming from like a first generation experience. We have parents most of the time that have this like idea of what, you know, they want their kids to become, or they have this idea of what they want to achieve or what they came to this country and these kids, you know, the kids that they had need to pursue this because they couldn't do it. Right. So my whole entire life and talking about like achieving all these things, I've recently reflected that I achieved my degrees for my family to put it like a, you know, a certificate on our name, like, you know, Landaverdes, we did this, you know, and a lot of it wasn't rooted in me though. You know, if I would have known I know my passion was giving back to my community. I knew that for a very long time. I just didn't know how that was going to turn into. But my parents would always guide me and say, you know, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to do. You know, for them, I would still have a stable job working for this company that didn't align with my values. So, you know, they wanted me to be, you know, successful and stable. And then all of a sudden I shifted to entrepreneurship. And, you know, funny to be, my mom was like, Lea, I always knew you were going to be an entrepreneur. You're our daughter. I was like, I didn't know that. I didn't want to do this, you know, I didn't want to do this, but they wanted, you know, that for me. And the thing is, as a queer individual also, I feel like I had to struggle a lot with my identity growing up, because in my family and my culture, it's just really frowned upon to be queer. It's not accepted. It's really rejected in my family. And I've struggled with my identity my whole life. So I felt like growing up, I had to divide myself, almost like code switch from like Latina, the professional, Lea, the Latina professional, Lea, you know, just Lea as herself, Lea as a queer woman, Lea, you know, and with her family. Like I just constantly had to switch versions of me around everybody just to make sure that I didn't step on anybody's toes or didn't disrespect anybody, because, you know, you never know who you're around and they might find it disrespectful because you're queer. And there's this like Latino thing. I don't know about you, but like for me, it's like you respect your elders, you know, and things like that. And eventually, like 2 years, like maybe a year and a half ago, I kind of got fed up. I was just like, Lea, you're all of this. Stop dividing yourself. You are all of these things. Whose expectations are you living up to, yourself or of society and other people? And so, para mí era algo que I needed to like step back and confront these like ideas of everybody else and be like, what does Lea really want? How does she want to present herself? So I think in the last year or so, I've been actively trying to stay authentically as myself and no longer abide by the rules and standards of somebody else. Whether that is, you know, I remember when I first started my career in financial services, I would abide to the rules. You know, and I would even to my parents would be like, Lea, calladita, te ves más bonita. Don't speak up, you know, don't fight, don't just, you know, it's a paycheck. It's a paycheck. Don't say anything, you know. And yo enojada because they would say some things I didn't like. And they're like, no, just calladita, you know.
And something, right? One little sentence like that could have something
like it's just calladita. And you're like, okay, you respect your parents. And so now that I'm, getting closer to my 30s and navigating my life, I'm like, no, Lea, you are everything. And you should be loud and proud for who you are, no matter if you're queer, no matter if you're Latina, no matter if, you're first, whatever your identity is, you are all of that in one. So why are you dividing it up? And so I had to come to this, realization. A lot of actual first geners feel this way, where they're dividing themselves in their professional spaces. I'm like, no, I'm just going to show up authentically as myself. If you don't like it, that's a problem with you, and that's not a problem with me. It's more of your perception of how you want to see me versus this is how I am authentically. And I've gotten a lot of great feedback on that. They're like, Lea, we've just been waiting for you to own who you are. Like, I've had some of my clients feel like, Lea, we know you as you. I want to see that, because sometimes I would hide my partner in my content. I would hide her because I didn't want to bring up the queer identity into my content, because I'm not going to lie. Sometimes when I post queer content, my views go down, my engagement goes down, because it's not always supported in our community. And like I said, I respect anybody else's decisions, but this is authentically myself. I have these intersectionalities that I love and I want to own every single day. Like, I estoy tatuada, I have piercings, and these are things that people might say, Lea, you're not professional enough. And I'm like, why? I speak professionally, and sometimes even with my voice, some people, like even nuestra gente, will comment on my videos, wow, you sound like a no sabo kid. And I'm like, I'm actually very fluent in Spanish. Thank you for saying that. But just because I don't have an accent, I don't have, a Latino accent. I'm like, well, I grew up in a whole white town city where I had to speak fluently. I don't know. I got some good English education. I don't know, my bad, And so and the thing is also being a creator and a professional, it's merging these worlds, and it's all about authenticity, right? Like, no one's going to tell you, Luis, cámbiate el pelo because we don't like your bun. Remember we talked about your bun in the panel? It's all about staying authentic to what you are and who you are. And that's kind of what I've talked about these last few episodes, is that journey of authenticity and finding and just being comfortable with my identity. Being comfortable with my identity, perdón. And so it sometimes gets I get sometimes anxious about it, because I'm like, oh, ¿qué me van a decir? ¿Cómo me van a criticar? And I'm like, actually, at the end of the day, it does not matter. I get comments all the time talking mad stuff about me, but it's okay. I'm still me. I'm still helping people. And that's the thing. At the end of the day, it's the impact that I'm driving, and that's how authenticity has really, switched up my voice.
I'm so happy that you found that within you to take that, I would say leap of faith, right? Because you're scared of how you're going to be ultimately received, right? And perceived. But I'm glad you did it, because you're owning your own voice, and I feel like your tribe will find you. The people that don't like it. Unfortunately, us as humans, I do this all the time too. Where I don't know why, but the negative stuff has such much more of an impact than the positive stuff. You could be told one day, hey, you got this award for being a professor, and then you get a negative comment on IG, right? And that brings you down. But hey, you just won this award. Like, why? Why is it? I don't know why, but it's something that is hard to overcome sometimes.
And we're human. That's the thing. We're human. We have feelings, And so when someone says something, a little disrespectful, you're like, oh, that could have hurt, But then I'm like, no, I'm a bad bitch. I already know. I already know that I'm making a difference in the world, and I'm doing it in a way that feels best for me.
Yeah, it's always somebody hiding behind a keyboard, just projecting.
Always, they just whatever.
That's how you know you made it, actually.
Yeah, I'm getting paid. Doesn't matter. Comment some more.
Absolutely. No, this is great. Thank you. Also, I wanted to ask you just about what you offer in general. Tell us about the Riqueza Collective. I know you do group coaching, one-on-one, the community events, workshops, and the club as well, the Riqueza Club. So just a little bit about those.
Yeah, so the main focus here at Riqueza is essentially providing financial education, whatever that looks like. So right now we've been doing one-on-ones. I'm actually going to be releasing a boot camp here, which is our group program, by the end of the month. So it's a 6-week it's a 6-week boot camp where we're going to cover all the things from budgeting, saving, credit, debt, and everything like that. But we focus on just empowering our clients and understanding their relationship with money and creating a healthy relationship with understanding how to navigate your finances. So we have these services going on right now. My one-on-one is actually closed. I'm going through this whole rebrand with Riqueza. I have so much going on that I can't wait to share. So if you want to learn more, like, you have to follow me on Latina Wealth Activist or Riqueza Co. and also join our newsletter, because I'm going through a whole rebrand to make impact, because I'm someone who is a visionary at that and I want to help our gente. So I'm working on developing an app. Nice. For our community. So that's all I'm going to say. So stay tuned. But we do have a free Slack community that anyone can join where I talk about the money wins. We have a book club where I like to guide a book. Currently, we're reading Brag Better by Meredith Feynman, I believe her name is. And I'm all about self-improvement, and this should be accessible. I'm all about transparency, accessibility. So that's what I have currently going on. You can find all those details on my website or on Instagram, social media, whatever outlet you use.
Okay, great. Yeah, we'll look forward to see what you got cooking. We're going to put links to all those in the show notes. So tell us those once again, where to follow you, the website and the social media.
Yes, so I'm at theriquezaco.com. Our at is Riqueza Co, or you can follow me at the Latina Wealth Activist.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all those. We're excited to see, what's next. So before I let you go, I just want to ask you a couple of fun questions. So what is your favorite music or artist?
Reggaeton, hands down, currently Karol G.
Okay. What about the old school stuff? Do you like any of the old school stuff?
Yes, I love listening to Daddy Yankee.
Nice. Yeah, he's a classic.
On a good day, gotta play some Daddy Yankee.
Without a doubt. What about your favorite Latin cuisine or dish?
Birria tacos.
Oh, nice.
Those are so good. Yeah.
I like fish tacos. I'm like,
it's just it's the sauce for me. I'm a saucy girl.
Gotcha. No, me too, for sure. And especially now living in Los Angeles, I'm like, wherever I can.
Oh, yes. You get the good truck. Ones.
Yeah. So actually, next time you're here, if you have time, let me know.
Yes, will do. I will.
We'll link up. And then finally, this is a question I ask everyone. So let's say, somebody bumps into you in an elevator ride, which is going to be a very short one, right? They don't know who you are. They won't know your website or your name. Mm-hmm. So what is something that you would just like to share with someone that you have learned throughout your life? Could be anything, could be a financial tip, anything that was passed down to you, favorite book, whatever it is, anything you'd be like, hey, I don't know you, stranger, but if I can pass down something, words of wisdom, here's what I would say in this short elevator ride.
Dime con quién andas y te diré quién eres. It's probably my favorite quote from my culture or cultura. Is just tell me who you hang out with, and I can tell you who you are. And I think that's a true represent of like who our community is, who we're around, and what is our perception to individuals. And I know the saying perception is reality, and I hate that one, but I really want someone to say that, look at who you're around. Are they empowering you? Are they helping you grow in your career? Are they helping you become that higher, better version of yourself? And if that is a no, reconsider who you're around. And I wish I could give that advice to everybody.
Got it. No, that's strong. Yeah, you can only be so strong for so long if you're hanging out the wrong crowd. I was talking to somebody about this the other day, actually. And we were like, hey, if you hang out with people that all they do is eat sweets and you don't, right? Yeah. At some point, you're gonna get a lollipop. You're gonna try something.
Yeah, I talk to my cousins who are younger than me, and I'm like, who do you hang out around? We party, da da da. I'm like, okay, well, of course you're gonna party too if all your friends are gonna party, right? So, if I could give that advice to no matter the age, look at who you're around. Are they helping you become your better self? Are they providing you joy? Are they thinking about your best interests, right? Do they want you to achieve more, right? And sometimes we don't question those things in our friendships yet, but it's something that I learned from my parents that it has been so true in my life. Like, I wish it wasn't true, but it really is true. Tell me who you're around and I can tell you who you are.
That's very true. Yeah. And for those people that if for some reason they don't have the ability to create an in-person network, that's why it's so important to join communities like yours. Because look, you're reading books, right? You're sharing wins. Like that's the type of people we need to be around to help you level up.
Yes. People like us who want to just help and give back, and like it's finding just support, just good support. Because, I've had so many clients who tell me, hey, like, I think I need to change my friends because I told them that I was trying to save some money and they were like, no, let's go get more drink. Let's go out more. And they are like, I just graduated a few of my one-on-one clients. And yesterday I had one of like their graduation calls, and she was like, Lea, I let go of so many friends because they were not serving my best interest. I now know what I want and they didn't want that for me. And I'm like, wow. And she was like, I had to let them go and it hurt so bad. But like, you made me realize that these are the things that I actually want to work on for me, for my better self. And they don't want to support me and align themselves to help me grow. Then I don't need them in my life. And I'm like, thank you. You did it. That's what you needed to.
Agreed. No, awesome. This has been great. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing. So be sure to follow Lea so that you can stay tuned for the new, the app and everything else. New and improved. So thank you, Lea, so much. I look forward to seeing what you got cooking for real. So, and again, if you're ever in LA, that certainly hit me up.
Yes, I'll hit you up for some birria tacos.
Nice. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. As always, if you have any questions, send me an email, luis@onmywaytowealth.com. Subscribe, and also stay tuned for some other great speakers coming up. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to On My Way to Wealth. If you have any questions, please send me an email at luis@onmywaytowealth.com. The information provided here is for information and education purposes only. The opinions expressed herein are solely those of myself, unless otherwise specifically cited. Material presented is believed to be from reliable sources, and no representations are made by my firm or myself about other parties' information or accuracy or completeness. All information or ideas provided should be discussed in detail with a financial advisor, accountant, or legal counsel prior to implementation.